zirlai no pangte in zavain chi bai ule voina hian class 10 zirlai in literature reader mi chapter 2 the story of my life ti kha kan zir ho le don ani a the story of my life hi thon thungai nom takania thon thu ti la thil tak tak ani a heta khan kan enanga atopa khan in le khabu kha in lo kewanga atopa khan aziak tu he the story of my life ti hi kan mu ang hian Helen Keller zia ani a Helen Keller chanchin kha topa khan toite khan ron zia ka kha kan chiar lokange o Helen Keller kha 1880 a pianga 1968 at Borala. Helen Keller was an American author, political activist and lecturer. She was the first person with hearing and vision impairment to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. Oh, Helen Keller chu kan shiata kan khan kha le khabuziak tu te ni atin political activist ani boka lecturer ani boka ti karon soya ti chuan amma hi middle le mo bengong Bachelor of Art degree ni masapirani middle le bengong chunga le khazir chhauzela BA degree ni masaber kha ania ti chuan Keller published her autobiography Amma Chanchin Khazia Kani Helen Keller hian tuna achanchin zia chu tuna kanzir mek tur kanzir tur the story of my life ti hi ania kumsang khat zakwa pathuma a chua khania he the story of my life ti azia hian ama hi kumsom ni pani ania college akalaya azi ania he the story of my life a hian it recounts the story of her life up to age 21, especially how her teacher, Anne Sullivan, broke through the isolation imposed by a near-complete lack of language, allowing Keller to blossom as she learned to communicate. Atia, kumsomni pakhat mi ni khan hele khabu hi aziaka. Kumsomni pani mi ni khan hele khabu hi aziaka. He ale khabu buzia hian. A teacher, Anne Sullivan, had a cancer to rapo hiana ming Anne Sullivan hi alar lea. Hey hian Heleni nun ko har tak mai lack of language mo he tong siat lo na wanga anun siom tak mai kha aron blossom tira aron par chwa tira tong athiam tir na mangin kha anun siom tak mai kha ron kai chuak le na chanchin de kha zia kani he le khabua hian mo Helen hian le khabupang ai hi som pani laya zia katin article chi sang zia bukani ti kha khalaya kan le khabua ama chanchin toy anon soi chu ni ati chuan a buchung thuwa kan lut to anga in le khabua khan lo ke le ula heta chapter 2 ni kan ti kha o ti chuan kan chiar tunang Little Helen is delighted when she is taught to make connection between words and objects. In this extract from the autobiography of Helen Keller, we learn how she overcomes adversity to become an inspiration for all. Helen Keller mo kan zir tur ber achang tunu timeang achang tu ber Little Helen hi connection between words and object. Words thumal le thil mo object thil hian in connect na an ni ti an zir chwa ka chuan a delighted mo alom lut tukani chuan he a chanchin zia na the story of my life atang hian anuna harsatna ato mo we learn how she overcomes adversity harsatna he anuna harsatna chi sang ato atne na tekha midang te ta na midang te huai sen na siam saktu engen yang fui tu poimo tak ani na kha he thon thua hian he chanchin zia na hian a chanchin na soina hian kan chiar don ani kan zir chuak don ani kan zia tanang the beginning of my life was simple and much like every other little life. I came, I saw, I conquered, as the first baby in the family always does. Helen Keller kanama chanchin na zia kan ni kan ti kha ka bul kanun bul lo tan na hi chu simple de ania tichuan I came, I saw, I conquered. No pang dang ang buka first baby mo no pang piang masa ang bukan karon kala kamua kan ne ti ang khan Keipo kakakatil ton animea, there was the usual amount of discussion as to a name for me. Tichuan aron piang chuak ta a khatak aron piang chuak nuwa khan kaming phwa na tura khan an soi ho na sa ni ti chung te kha han so khan an so aming tur kha enge nyang te khan soi na sa a. The first baby in the family was not to be lightly named. Achan jo first baby ni a piang ma saber tur anule pakara piang ma saber tur ni a khata kha chuan aming khati mai tur ni lo holam taka more lightly named holam taka duda takati mai tur ni lova. Everyone was emphatic about that. My father suggested the name of Mildred Campbell, an ancestor whom he highly esteemed, and he declined to take any further part in the discussion. Tichuan kha aming phwa na tura khan mi tu po mai kha nge ni aming an phwa tura khanin an phurin ming phwa khan in chu an du vekani kapa khachuanin kamingatan khan Mildred Campbell ti in an soya chu Mildred Campbell ti na chan tur po ang minga isan an thla tu te atang ami tun ma an thla tu te mo an ancestor tia khata ang minga isan highly esteemed kami ming choya phwa kha duwa chuwangin soi ho na apo khan tela du to lo ni Mildred Campbell ti kha I kapa chuan kamingatan khan phwa duwa ti chuan aming phwa tur khan an soi ho na sa hle ni helaya ron soi dana yan ti chuan anu ero my mother solved the problem by giving it as her wish that I should be called after her mother, whose maiden name was Helen Everett. Tichuan kanu ero chuan khang kan kaming phwa tura an soi nuai na kharon titopin kaming atan chuan anu maiden pasalane ma a ming mo Helen Everett kha kanu chuan amanu kapi ming kha choi turin atifelta a. But in the excitement of carrying me to church, my father lost the name on the way very naturally, since it was one in which he had declined to have a part. When the minister asked him for it, he just remembered that it had been decided to call me after my grandmother, and he gave her name as Helen Adams. Tichuan biak ina minin khom puya kapai na min pomlai khan a phur lua taleya mo kaming tur kha enge ming tur kan ti kha anuina phwa Helen Everett kha anuina amanu ming anulat lai ming phwa tura ti kha apa kha na phura lua ta kha na lo theingil tadte maya ti chuan ministerina pastorin ti na nyang chumo ministerina kaming turan zo po khan a theingil tadat me ni kha minga kha asiat zong chu kapi ming angani ti kha kapi ming kapudona ni ti kha chu an soi ve runga ta Helen Adams kha chu api ming tho chu nia ma se apasal ne nuwa ming ania maiden name Helen Everett Nilavin Helen Adams kha apai na pastor tenena aming tura soi chunita a tichuan I am told that while I was still in long dresses I showed many signs of an eager, self-asserting disposition. Everything that I saw other people do, I insisted upon imitating. Tichuan, no pangkor fual harwal kani like tang to khan mithatho le harwang tak mai kanito a minsil dana chuan mo mithom na mithatho harwang tak mai kani katete tangin ati na ni zo engkim mai hi mi thil ti ka mu hian lo ti ve lo copy ka imitate lo va copy anti dan kha lo zir ve zel maya ti chuan at 6 months I could pipe out howdy, and one day I attracted everyone's attention by saying t quite plainly. Ti chuan kumruk tharuk mi lek kani lai khan how do you mo howdy ti kha ka soi chuak thei to ati tharuk mi a mo changkang ma le mai ti chuan tum khat phei chu ti omja chu thingpui mok thingpui ti khan ka soi chuak ve ta me a ol sam deuh mai khan kha khami khan min ngene mi kha ka attract mani mi khan min lom ta maya kha thil kan soi chuak ve ringot mai kha. Even after my illness I remembered one of the words I had learned in these early months hetuna kadam lo nuwa po hian khang hun laya kalor zir ve to word pakhat shiat ring kha kaneya it was the word water tuiti spell khania mo wat pakhat adang kha chu theingil vek ma se wat pakhat adam lo nuwa athil theingil vek nu po asia drink kha chu water ti kha ania and I continued to make some sound for that word after all other speech was lost to water ti thuk deuh mang chuan tong chuan kha water ti che kha ka sia ti khamo khami tong mang deuh khan ka lam ve thina sound ka siam ve thina ni thil dang zong zong kha chu ka tong atong bok to lova khamia khan amara chu atong theina kha ingani thil bengong ani to amita del to khang athil siat kha theingil vek to mase kha water chia kha ni a se theiani khateng ang ri hoi zong lampang khan ka lam ve theya ati I ceased making the sound wa wa only when I learned to spell the word. Tichuan a word is thumal lam ka thiam nuwa chau khan wa wa ti heino pang la tong thelo thu sei tur la se lo wa wa anti ang deuh khan om thin ahun athil tong ve dan chu ania khami kha chu thumal lam ka thiam atang khan kha wa wa tia ka tong thin kha chu are ta ani. They tell me I walked the day I was a year old. Kumkhat kani in kakal theider to ti khamin shila. My mother had just taken me out of the bathtub and was holding me in her lap when I was suddenly attracted by the flickering shadows of leaves that danced in the sunlight on the smooth floor. I slipped from my mother's lap and almost ran toward them. The impulse gone, I fell down and cried for her to take me up in her arm. Kum khatani khana kal theider to a chumi tum chuan kanu hian min bat ta patangin min la chhuaka amal chunga min poma ain bual zo atina ni chumo amal chunga min poma ti chuan kan chhuwa ta khan ni na ron em nim na thing na te thing na tha kan chhuwa ta ni na ron em phelep lep te me te khan ka mi ta latlat me ni kan in chhuwa ta khami thla ron lang kha chuan engma po ngai to lo chuan kanu mal chunga chang chuan ka tlan chuak thuai meya chumi lampan chuan ka vakal ta a ti chu tha na kha chhuwa ta ron lang ni na ron ti a thla ron ti lan na kha ma seng khatia ti nu khan kha thatho na han phur thut na kha are le a ti chuang ka tluwa kanu chumin pom tur chuan kan ngen le akan trap le ta a. These happy days did not last long. One brief spring, musical with the song of robin and mockingbird. One summer rich in fruit and roses. One autumn of gold and crimson sped by and left their gifts at the feet of an eager, delighted child. Lim chung kha are lo le mai mo ka khang lim chung kha are lo le mai tia achan chut e thal voi khat sawa sham thiam tak tak robin le mockingbird sam moi tak tak tena thal voi khatanon shama ni pui voi khatina fruit and roses pangpar le an ra te anon chwa ro pui tak tak te le tin fawang khata rong moi tak tak te an chwa hun kha an chwa kha an gift ta until pek lu tak tak te khano pang him thei tak ke bula khan an ronda an kalbo le tamai ang me hi ania. Then in the dreary month of February came the illness which closed my eyes and ears and plunged me into the unconsciousness of a newborn baby. Tichuan February khalim omlo zet mai khan he kanat na mo elo theng ta thut me ati which closed my eyes. Amit karon pui tap mup mea tin and ears abeng le amit karon del rungut abeng karon ngong ta rungut me ni mo unconsciousness of a newborn baby no te piang him til shelo engma shelo ang mei khan ka ta der me ni kha February tha kha na ti ron dam lo thut me ni chumo chu anat na chu they called it acute congestion atia acute congestion of the stomach and brain apum le a brain a khan engni thisen block tu kha alo ni a acute congestion more of the stomach and brain. The doctor thought I could not live. Kadam chu akharing lo ni doctor chuan I encall to doctor pokhan adama be se lo renga. Even early one morning, however, the fever left me as suddenly and mysteriously as it had come. Amara chu tu khat chu jing voi khat chu khat khosigina voile khata ron minron lu khung thut ang mai khan kha khosik kha voile khata khana kal arele ta duak mai ni. There was great rejoicing in the family that morning. Kan chung kwa chuan hlimna kha zinga khan kha mituk zinga khan kan chung kwa kha kan an hlim maya, but no one, not even the doctor, knew that I should never see or hear again. An hlim roal khan ma se tu ma khan doctor meu po khan a shemi alo ka mu thei to don lova ka shet thei to don lo ani ti kha tu ma khan an shelo reng ani ti chuan kan chiar chun zom le ang khongai khak le mai veile khata ti khan nau piang thatak kha khosi ka wangin acute congestion mo a brain a thuak le apum puya thisen in past tur khami block awanga ron thlengania kha khan bengon na le middle na kharon siamani mo khongai khak le mai tiro. I cannot recall what happened during the first months after my illness. This one enge kha ka first month ka damlo kha tir thapasa ber ang khachu engma hishiat ka nei to lo mo han soile tur pui ka nei to lova. I only know that I sat in my mother's lap or clung to her dress as she went about her household duties. Kashiat ve chunaro chu kanu mal chunga hian ka thua kanu boya in chungkur sekrek antia an vel pa hian apon fen hi kalau vuan ve a hi kalau chel ve ren thina ni ti kha kashiat ve chun zuania. My hands felt every object and observed every motion. Ka kut te chuan engkim ma hi an dapa an feel an tum khan an dap thina ni. I learned to know many things. And in this way, I learned to know many things. Soon, I felt the need of some communication with others and began to make good signs. This one, engumani kachu zirve tani mo akut mangkhan til object ka til ka an khoya. This one til chet vel zate mo til omdan ani phung kachu a sheve thei mai ani til tam takha sheve ni. Tichuan communication engemuni in biak naman ruwa turi chu angaya ni ti kha ka sheve a chuwang chuan ka kut mangkhan mol mang taka zai jira thil in shiat nakha khami crude signs mo sign mol te mangkhan I thil ka siam tan veta a shake of the head meant no and a nod yes. A pull meant come and a push go. Ka sign na siam te chu kami sign chi sang siam ve te khachu alu kha ati an thin khan ai tina ti chuan an bu khan o ti na ni a tin thil apo chuan pul anga mo thil put anga ti zonga ti kha chuan local ro ti na tin apus anam zonga ka kutakan ti kha chuan kal ro ka ti na ni a. Was it bread that I wanted? Mo bread chang thop ka du ani chuan then I would imitate the acts of cutting the slices and buttering them. Ti chuan chang thop te ka edu ti ka sia tir du chuan chang kat om takin mo ka kut mangkhan chang kat ta butter noi ang deuh te khan kan sign kha kan siam ta thina. If I wanted my mother to make ice cream for dinner, I made the sign for working the freezer and sievert, indicating cold. Tin ice cream te kanu nia na kangin chuan khur ang deuh te khan ke ma kha khur ang deuh te khan ka thina atiani mo ti khan ama khan a chung te nia na anin biak theina tur ang kong kha alo zong ve na se ema ti chuan. My mother, moreover, succeeded in making me understand a good deal. Tin kanu po hian he thil ka sia thiam theina tur hian engkim mai hi athokani mo min puina se emani kanu hian. I always knew when she wished me to bring her something, and I would run upstairs or anywhere else she indicated. Indeed, I owe to her loving wisdom all that was bright and good in my long night. Ti chuan kanu hian min tira du chuan mo thil engamula tura min du tia ka sia chuan in chunglama te ka han tlana ti chuan ako lampang mo kal tura min ti na lampang ate khan ka han kala ti chuan I kanu I du te kha ka te sak ve thina ni atiani chu mo chuwang chuan kan anu khan apui na save ema phak tok anga fanu kha thil sia tiam tir thei tur khan ti chuan thil tam takha kanu po kha na sei kha mo. My mother moreover succeeded in making me understand a good deal. Thil tam takha anu atang khan ashiat ashe thiama ashe thar bokani chuwang chuan I owe to her loving wisdom atia khang all that was bright and good in my long nights kha zan thim hun khir le har satlai ber po a mangai taka min kuang ko ropui taka ama awanga hetianga thei kan ni kan nu laka han bat ka nga em mai ni khang hun zong min pal tlang puya mangai taka min kuang ko awang khan kan nu laka hian I bat ka nga em ani atiani I understood a good deal of what was going on about me. At 5, I learned to fold and put away the clean clothes when they were brought in from the laundry, and I distinguished my own from the rest. I knew by the way my mother and aunt dressed when they were going out, and I invariably begged to go with them. O kamitlenga khan kan sei lenga athil ti thiam ve ho kha mo. I understand a good deal of what was going on about me. I thiam ve tran to ama po khamo a good deal of what was going on about me enge ka chunga thil thleng ti kha enge mo chen ka chu ka in thiam ve to a kumnga ka ni khan ka kor te hi ka kor fai sa mo sukna tanga kan thom no ro anon da ti ka kor fai te hi ka lo thlep ve a ti chuan ka kor te hi midang kora tangin ka lo thliar sang ve thiam to ta a ti chuan kanu le ka anti mo kanu te te anin dress ti chuan an kal chuak don ani ti te hi shat na ka lo nei to a an bulakal hi ka ngen ve reng mai ni kanu te an han chedewa anin thla ka an chuak don ani ti shat na kha ma khan ani a lo ngen ve thin ani chu mo Then I was always sent for when there was company, and when the guests took their leave, I waved my hand to them, I think with a vague remembrance of the meaning of the gesture. One day some gentlemen called on my mother, and I felt the shutting of the front door and other sounds that indicated their arrival. Tichuan motil ka ama to khat engi mushiat na khachu nei ve zel ani kan ti to kha mo mi in leng company in leng kan nei don reng yan ke ma hi alo dong song tua ka ta min mang thina and when the guests took their leave an kan in leng te an han chin don an han ho don te hian ka kuthi ka lo vai ve a ma seng kha ka vai ka kuta te ka lo we ve khan mo bye bye angatia alo vai ve khan ka vai ve se an ho don hi chuan ma seng om zia kha ka sha chiang chia chuang lo ti kha in kut vai kha mo enge vague remembrance ati ashe thiam chia lowa ma seng ati ve ze ani ti chuan voi kha chu some gentlemen mo in leng chen khati mi pa ho in leng chen khati kan nei do na ti chuan an kong ka pui honri atang khan an local ti kha ka feel the di ka she theya ti chuan an sound dang siam te po kha an local ani an lo thleng ani ti kha ka she the ani ti chuan on a sudden thought I ran upstairs before anyone could stop me ti chuan min lo leng don ani ti kan hria chwa thuta khan sudden thought mo kan ngai to chuak thuta ti chuan in chung lama ka tlan chowa tu mai na min dan ma khan kan tlan chhota a to put on my idea of a company dress mo ka in chei thom no I company dress ti chu entianan I hun kor te kan nei ta ti ro ma se kan thian te kan kom do na kan chwa wa do na kha chuan kan kor tha te kan thlak thina khatianga I thian midang huna kan kor hak tur ka company dress te kha mo in leng kan ne ka hak tur ni taka ni ang taka ka ngai kha company dress te kha ka han lave a ti chuan mirror ma standing before the mirror as I had seen others do dar thalang ma kan ding ang teng tonga ti chuan I anointed my head with oil and covered my face thickly with powder. Then I pinned a veil over my head so that it covered my face and fell in folds down to my shoulders, and tied an enormous bustle around my small waist so that it daggled near behind, almost meeting the hem of my shirt. Thus attired, I went down to help entertain the company. Adi mo ti chuan in leng te kha alo welcome ve na sachin memaniti kan ti kha ti chuan ka an local ne ka sia chuang ain chaina nia ngai mo in chaina nia ngai ang khan lo tia mi ti dan nia ka siat ang deuh khang ka tia ka mai te powder ka noya oil te ka luwa ka ka ta ta ti chuan ka luwa hian vel khum tur mo vel luak him chi kha ti chuan ka chala kan khima ti chuan ka sam zong ka mai zong khu in mo ka ba heta ka soldier ka heta hian om bor luk thin ta meya ti chuan mei chia ten an hak thin kor chhong te me ang nung lam te helam panga I an hak thin kor I pakhat baslan ti narma khamit lian buru deuh mai te kha ka konga khan kan hrenga chu an wai tha wai fol khan ka pon fen nuai ka pon fen tlang kha azuk hlia thei thin ani chu tiang ang dress nal thei ber nia siat khan in chei ve ni chumo engtin nge in dress ti chuan kha tu na kan soi ho ang te kha ania chu tiang ang dress chuan in leng te chhon tur chuan ka chuk thave ta thina I do not remember when I first realized that I was different from other people mi pa ngai ka phalo midang ka ang lawani ti hi engtika chia nge ka realize ka hria chua hi ka se thei to mi alawati mo but I knew it before my teacher came to me ma seng he mi pa ngai ka phalo ni mi pa ngai ang ka ni lawani ti hi engtika ka tan nge chu ko engtika nge ka hria tan chu ko selawa ma se ka teacher lo thlen ma hi chu ani ti chu ka chiang ani mo a teacher I tur lo thlen ma khan mi pa ngai ang ani lo ni hi mi pa ngai angin om lo ni hi ti kha ain ama khan lo feel ve de to ni kha ani chu mo I had noticed that my mother and my friends did not use signs as I did kanule athian te ho hian anin biak hian mo ke math science ka kut zaizir te athil engemo ka taksa manga science ka siam angchi entir na he kut zaizir vela ka ti ang hi kanule thian te in bia ya an tingai reng lo ti kha ka mu chuak ta ati mo but talk with their mouths an ka an mouth hian an tung ani ti kha ka sha chuak ta a sometimes I stood before two persons who were conversing and touched their lips achang phei chuan mi pahnih in bekara te hian mo kan thu ang ren rona anin biak lai te chuan an hmui a che ni ti hriat nang kha an hmui te kha ka han khoi te thin ani ti ma se I couldn't understand and was vexed mo ka se thiam thei lo ani ti khan hmui che vel kha ama ang khan an lo ani ti kha ashe chuaka an kai nan tonga an kai nan in biani an mui pangin an in biani ti kha an sia chu khan makate alung nur ne ma po kha mo alom lo ti meyang mo alom lo ani I moved my lips and gesticulated frantically without result ti chuan ka mui ti chu om zenei lovin zai mang ang tak mai khan ka mui ka lips mo ka mui te kha kanan ti cheve vak ringota mo ma sengin omzia without result engma omzenei lo khan tivkwai venas salut tukani mo gesticulated frantically without result amang ang lu tukhanan tikwal an pui kha an siam kwal ve ngota ma se omzia nei lo chu tak mai chuan this made me so angry at times that I kicked and screamed until I was exhausted chu chuan na ti lung ni lo em maya mo ain she chuak ta ni ama kha alo piang dang lam ani mo alo pia alo om dan ka ani phung ka dang lam ani ti an chat chuak ta ka chuan a thinari em me ve le khata khan I ka ke ka perak ka au buka mo a thei to bin ka ke ka perak ka au fak waka ka chau nep thleng khan ti khan ka om ta a atiani khongai thak le mai mi pa ngai phalo anga kan ngai ang chi kha an lo ni a ama ro chu he an ria chua ama kha chuan se chuak lo se chu pa ngai ta kan ma se an se chuak kha an na ve don hle ni tru a khongai thak le ani ole khamia khan ala sei de ulega khata khan kan top si anga mo episode dotlia danga apart tu na mo engtin nge khaminua khan lungai ta khan om chun zom zelem ti a story ama chanchin je ang he kha kan chiar chun zom leng kan ngai tha chun zom le don ya